So it's a delight to have you join us on the program TMI on the ITV network. Right now, right away, we go straight to our discussions and interview segment. With me in the studio is the National Chairman of the Labour Party, our very own Barrister Julius Abure. Many thanks for joining us on the program.
Thank you so much for having me this morning.
So it's a delight to have you here. And we could just go back a little bit and reflect on some of the issues that are surrounded, the Nigerian polity, the politics, governance issues, party leadership issues, and all of that. And yours has been quite tempestuous in a way, with the manner it has come forth every now and then, just when you think that the issue is rested, and then somewhere along the line, it resurfaces again. And then it brings us to that point where we are asking ourselves, what is now the authentic situation with your leadership in Labour Party?
Well, what we find all over the place is propaganda. To us, the matter is well rested. The High Court in Benin have affirmed my leadership, and most recently, the Court of Appeal, also sitting in Benin, also affirmed my leadership and restrained perpetually all others from parading themselves as leaders of the party. But you find that people are desperate. People want to create confusion in the minds of people. They want to misinform and mislead people. And so occasionally they come up with propaganda stories of misinforming the people, and that is the true position, and that is the situation. My leadership is the only leadership that has a valid 2 court judgments. Every other one you see are all fake news. And if you follow our events properly, or you follow us, you see that we have always responded each time those fake news are out in the public domain. And I'm sure that the mainstream media now is no longer carrying their stories, as you can see. Most recently, they came up with the story of the fact that the Supreme Court have also affirmed them as the leaders of the party. But it's also fake news. But luckily, no reputable media houses carried it. And so the dwell of propaganda, if you go to INEP website, it is clear as to who is the national chairman of the party and the true leadership of the party. It's very clear, it's obvious. In Imo, in Kogi, in Bayelsa, it is my candidate that are uploaded. There's only my candidates that are campaigning. So what you find is just propaganda. And I will urge those people, I will urge members of the public to simply disregard any fake news. They are fake news, and I'm sure that is what they are paid to do.
Did you anticipate this kind of reaction as a fallout of the outcomes of the 2023 presidential election?
Obviously, we anticipated it because, our participation in the 2023 general election changed the political landscape in the country. We gave some people, all other ruling parties, PDP and APC, a run for their money. For the first time, the 2023 general election was very competitive, where 3 major political parties participated in that election. And the results are obvious. For the first time, Labour Party won 12 states, PDP also won 12 states, and APC won 13 states. It has never happened in the history of the country. And obviously, the powers that be won't be comfortable with that kind of result. And Labour Party is an upcoming party, it's a future party that is people-driven, youth-driven, and obviously, for an emerging political party to make such a giant stride within a short period of time. As we speak today, we have a governor, we have 8 House of Rep, 8 senators. We have 35 House of Assembly members. We have just got 2 now from Jos Plateau. We've won at the tribunal. They have given us 2 more House of Rep members, but we are waiting that it will get to appeal, and they will assume that. And that gives us 27 members in the, 37 House of Rep members.
Okay.
And we have House of Assembly members scattered across the Federation. And so for such a giant stride, obviously, we didn't expect that it will not happen without a fight.
The claims by your party of winning the election has been turned to tatters. I mean, if you look at the outcomes of the presidential election petitions court judgment, does that give you any concern at all?
It gives us a lot of concern, especially for the future of our country, the future of our democracy, and even the future of the judiciary. Because all the issues raised were very fundamental issues that we had expected that we have concluded without much ado that the judgment by the tribunal was misplaced. We feel that it was not in accordance with the law because there are a lot of constitutional issues that were raised which we thought would have been answered in the affirmative. But this is what we find, and every right-thinking Nigerian, every right-thinking person obviously will be worried about the future of our country, the future of our democracy, and the future of the judiciary itself. My fear is that we pray that the country should not slide towards one-party state and even dictatorship. Because civilian dictatorship is worse than military dictatorship.
The analysis that you gave in terms of statistics of number of governors, senators, House of Reps, and House of Assembly doesn't reflect the national spread for a political party that wants to take over power at the center.
Yes, but that was what was allocated to us. What I've just told you is what was allocated. I mean, you saw the malpractices in the election itself, how people were brutalized, how election results were changed. I'm sure you are aware of what also played out even in Enugu. In Enugu, where we already won all the local government for the governorship. It was just left with 1. And the total demographics of that local government were not up to 15,000 votes. And they chalk in over 30,000 votes from there to upturn all the results that we have. Those are what you find across the country. So even though that is what we have on the ground, it does not reflect the actual strength of the party. It does not. And you know the presidential election was an exceptional election in the 2023 general election. For instance, what was declared? It was declared that we won 12 states in the presidential election.
Okay.
That does not reflect what you have on ground in terms of governorship, House of Rep, and all others. So for me, it is what is allocated to us that I have just put before you.
We've seen and we've also heard some critical stakeholders saying that the Labour Party, from the outcome of the election and then the outcome of the judgment by the Presidential Election Tribunal Court, was literally trying to play a mind games with Nigeria as far as the election is concerned, that the talks about having the national spread being on ground was just something that started and ended with social media.
No, but that's not true. You could even see that even from the result that was declared. If PDP who has been in existence for close to 24 years, was in presidency, had governors, we equated the result that was allocated. Like I said, in the presidential election, we won 12 states declared. PDP also won 12. And APC won 13 states. So given that, it's very clear that there is widespread national spread of the party. And more so, the legislators that we have in the National Assembly are also spread across the country. It's not limited to a section of the country. We have legislators from the West, we have from the South-South, we have from the Southeast, we have from the North-Central, we have from the Northwest. It's only in the Northeast that we don't have a representative. So it's nationally spread. It's a national party.
There have been serious questions about your leadership in terms of the emergence of candidates in your party. Take, for example, in Edo State, in some of the federal constituencies, there were litigations that even got to the Supreme Court. I think it's Igwe-Kubaha, I can't remember, one of those constituencies now, where in the primaries, a particular candidate emerged, and then somewhere along the line, another candidate emerged. The party under your leadership claimed to be supporting the other candidate that later emerged, not the one that was a product of the primaries that was concerned. Well, these were expressed all across the country. There are several instances all across the country. So what do you say about that?
Well, let me put the record straight.
Okay.
Most of the candidates that you find were not the candidates that emerged from the party primaries. A lot of these candidates came after Peter Obi joined the party, and the party became large. And so there were influx of people who came into the party. And most of our candidates emerged with the substitution primaries. The initial primaries that was done by the party, it was mostly party members, party faithfuls, who emerged from the primaries of the party with a view to having substitution primaries later. In Edo State, that was what played out. In almost all the federal constituencies, because the presidential, the primaries for the House of Representatives was held around 29th or 28th of May. I can't remember now. Okay. And that was the first primaries that was held. Okay. And all those who emerged from that primaries were mainly party officials who were placeholders. And it was after Peter Obi emerged as the presidential candidate of the party in June that we had influx of people coming into the party. And we needed to organize substitution primaries. So in most cases, in almost all the federal constituencies and the Senate, most of them were all
substitution primaries.
They were all substitution primaries.
Didn't that give room for corruption, like some people alleged?
No, obviously there was no corruption. It's very obvious. Some of those things that you hear, people just created them. I have maintained severally that the party is driven on integrity, on honesty, and proactiveness. And that is what is going for the party, because that's what the party represents. And that is the message we have transmitted all over. And Peter Obi's joining the party also came to embody that, also came to amplify that. And so for us to do less, we'll be destroying the very fabrics of the party. We'll be destroying our own philosophy. We'll be destroying our own image, which we stand for and represent. And so people just make spurious allegations that are neither here nor there. But of course, it's expected in politics because it goes with it, where people say all kinds of things, are unable to substantiate and even defend those things that is said.
Well, we have a new government in place, and for some analysts, the present government in Nigeria, especially at the federal level, has hit the ground running in terms of economic policies, in terms of appointments and all of that. What are your perspectives? What are your thoughts?
Well, for me, I believe that it is when government policies improve the lives, the standard of living of the people, pull people out of poverty, and provide basic needs for the people, that you can say that government policy is working. That is my perspective of it. So if you have economic policies that are further impoverish the people, government policies that have moved fuel from 180 naira per litre to 600 naira per litre, if you have government that have made life more difficult for the people, people now trek on the street, people have no food. If you have a government that is in place and this security have further increased. Hunger have increased. Unemployment is on the increase. People can no longer pay their rent. I don't see that as good economic policy. So for me, it is when government policies translate into improved standard of living for the people that you can truly say that government policy have worked. And so for me, the policies so far have not impacted positively in the life of the people. Probably that's why there is agitation everywhere. I mean, you can see that NSC is warming up for a national strike. Yeah. NSC have just done a 2-day warning strike. And I'm sure that in the next few weeks, we'll be in for a national strike.
Even if we had the Labour Party candidate as a president, for some people, the story wouldn't have been different because your party also sold the message of fuel subsidy removal. So it still would have been the same thing altogether.
It wouldn't have been.
What would have been different?
It would have been very much different. Even though we have campaigned with that, it wouldn't have been removed immediately. What we said all through our campaign was that there was so much fraud associated with the issue of subsidy. And we had proposed that crude oil would be allocated to states and modular refineries would have been created and new refineries would have been built that will refine petroleum products for local consumption. It is only in this part of the world where you have natural resources domiciled in your country, domiciled in your environment, that you still pay international market rates to drive ordinarily what should be available to the people of Nigeria. If you look at the provisions of the Constitution, I can't remember precisely, either section 17 or 18 or 14, state clearly that the natural resources of the country must be used to give maximum welfare to the citizens of the country. That the natural resources of a country of Nigeria should be used to provide maximum welfare for the citizens of the country. And one of the natural resources that we have in the country is crude oil. So our expectation is that we should locally refine our products, have it distributed for with a fixed rate for Nigeria so that it can give welfare to the citizens of Nigeria. And by so doing, if you refine product locally, you don't need subsidy. If you refine petroleum products for local consumption, you don't need subsidy. As it stands today, we export crude oil at a lesser rate and import finished products at a higher rate. No government does that all over the world. Across the world, no government does that. And so, for us, the story would have been different. Our approach would have been different.
Okay, let's quickly look at some of the policies that have come forth under the federal government. To what extent do you think these policies are affecting the people positively? Because you know that policies, no matter how lofty they are, there's a gestation period, there's a maturation period. So what do you make of these policies?
Well, a policy that will work will begin to have impact immediately. I mean, other countries, we need to learn from the experiences of other countries. I mean, some of these policies are not even new policies as they seem. They are what we have experienced over time, and you can easily predict the outcome of some of those policies. And so, for us, we are waiting and to see what comes out of those policies. But as we speak, assessing this government more than 3 months now, you can see that it has not impacted positively in the economy, positively in the life of the people. And therefore, but let's watch and see what plays out in the
So which means it's still a little bit too early to assess the government, as it were.
Yes, we have done assessment, so to speak, for at least 100 days in office.
Yes.
That assessment have shown clearly that government policies have not impacted on the lives of the people.
Your support
so we give more time to see
your support for
out.
the organized labor's planned indefinite strike. Would that not undermine the economy? Of course, we know most times, anytime you have such a situation in the country, you can do the numbers and see the economic losses in terms of naira and kobo, in terms of dollars, in terms of pounds and stuff like that. Isn't there a way that this could have been averted in a sense?
Well, averting it depends on government. And so they are still negotiating, but let's see what comes out of those negotiations. If government is sincere, I believe strongly that the labor, or from the labor side, is sincere. So let's see what the government will put on the table. I believe that the labor leaders who are there are reasonable, they are pragmatic, they are also passionate about the growth and development of the country. Let's see what comes out of their negotiation. I'm aware that discussions are ongoing.
Okay.
I'm aware that they are discussing. If those negotiations will alleviate the sufferings of the people, I believe that the NLC itself would not want to punish the people or further exacerbate the already deteriorating socio-economic conditions of the people. Okay. I mean, no reasonable leader at this stage of our development. We want to put the country in jeopardy or put the economy of the country in jeopardy. So I believe that the NLC would, and probably TUC, will be able to reach a compromise. But I say all of this will depend on the sincerity of government in order to avert the national strike. If you just join us, you're on to TMI on the ITV network. And today on the program, we have a special guest, the national chairman of the Labour Party, a major force in the not too distant general elections, which brought forth the APC candidate Bola Ahmed Tinubu. There are still contestations on that plank, but we're not going into that in the course of this interview. It's just been responding to a wide range of issues bordering on the election, its outcome, the presidential election court judgment, and the reaction that have also trailed it, and then of course its own leadership, as well as the state of economy in terms of government policies and how the people are responding to those policies, with an imminent strike coming from the organized labor. We hope government can really do the needful and stop the labor unionists in their tracks to avoid a shutdown of the economy. Mr. Julius Abure, once again, thank you for coming on the program. Thank you so much. But just before we let you go, being on ITV. Yes, just before we let you go, the Edo State governorship election and Ondo State governorship election are just the elections that are just around the corner, with INEC already giving a timeline for all of that. But I'd like us to talk more about our state, Edo State as it were. The major contending issue now is about where should the governor come from. As the national chairman of the Labour Party, there are those saying that you are solidly behind a governorship candidate coming from Edo Central Senatorial District, largely because that is where you are from. What are your perspectives on this? Well, to put the issues in their proper perspective, yes. I don't think it's because I'm from Edo Central that is making me to think. I have not even mentioned that the ticket of the party will go or will be zoned. Okay, but you are thinking in that direction already. Will be zoned. You've not mentioned, but you're thinking in that direction. Will be zoned to that direction. It's a major policy decision that will be taken by the NEC. Okay. It's the National Executive Council of the party that is saddled with that power, with that responsibility to determine guidelines and zoning for the party. That meeting has not been called. Okay. In a very short while, we are going to call that meeting to determine the guideline, determine the fees, determine the principles that will guide the governorship election in Edo and Ondo. And so not until that is done it's not a policy of the party as at now as to zoning. But speaking generally, the party's philosophy is known for equal opportunity and social justice. And if you juxtapose that clearly, it shows that it is most likely that the party may think towards looking at probably Edo Central. But you know, the party also values competence, capacity, and ability to deliver. The party is also interested in winning election in Edo. So if the candidate that will give us the winning will be from Edo South, well and good, the party will take that decision. If the candidate that will give the party the winning is from Edo Central, well and good. Even if the candidate is going to come from Edo North that will give the party the winning, the party will not hesitate in giving the party's ticket to that candidate. And so for us, it is about competence, it is about capacity, it is about dignity, it's about honesty, and above all, the capacity of the candidate to win the election. And so it is a candidate that will enjoy wide acceptability from all Edo people, from Edo North, Edo South, Edo Central, that we are going to look at and to give the ticket. And so if that candidate that enjoys such acceptability is from Edo South, the party members will obviously decide who becomes the flag bearer of the party. And so for us, these are the key factors that will drive the tickets, the decision that will be made in respect of the candidates of the party.
So those who are probably be carrying the banner of Eastern agenda, Edo agenda, Afema agenda, what you're saying is that it's still a decision in making because the National Executive Committee of the party is yet to decide. But we've heard from different critical stakeholders, even in Edo State, across the 3 senatorial districts, saying for equity, fairness, and justice, the next governorship candidate from all the political parties should come from Edo Central.
The members of the party will decide, and that's what I've said clearly. I've also alluded to the fact that the party stands for equity, justice, and fairness. And all of this will be put in their perspective when the time comes for that decision to be made.
All right, so how is the party dealing with the influx of aspirants, as it were, you know, from left, right, back, center? Some will just wake up in the morning, by afternoon they've declared an intention to run for God. How is the party dealing with that?
Well,
is that a concern to you?
Well, that's the hallmark of democracy. One of the major hallmark of democracy is to allow competition, to allow people to aspire and pursue their aspirations. It's a major hallmark of democracy. And I'm very happy that my party have been able to provide that opportunity where everybody is aspiring. Today, a lot of young people are aspiring under the platform of the party. In Kogi, for instance, and in Bayelsa, there are very young people who are governorship candidates, and we have promoted them. We have gone everywhere with them. And so for me, it has further widened the scope of participation. Okay. After all, democracy is participatory. Democracy is about participation. And so we are very happy that people are aspiring under the leadership of the party, and we have given them a level playing field for people to aspire. And I expect more people to aspire tomorrow, because that's what the party is about. That is what we stand for. And that's why our nomination fees will be about the list, so that a lot of people can aspire, buy the form, and participate. So that whoever emerges from that competitive primaries will know that he's truly the flag bearer of the party. All right.
I want to say big thanks to you for creating time to be here. And I know that as we make progress towards Edo 2024, you will oblige us to engage some of the issues that will be emerging, so that we can put them in proper perspective to have the right engagement with the people. Thank you very much, Mr.
Yes, because Edo is my state, I'll be here more often.
Okay.
I have said I will be doing 2 weeks in Edo and 2 weeks in Abuja.
So like an offshore, onshore.
Yes, so that we can give the leadership here a focus, support them,
Okay.
and be able to attract more followership to the state,
Okay.
and give the party properly direct the party so that we can do very well and probably produce the next governor in Edo State.
All right, like you said, the electorates will decide that across the 3 senatorial districts. It's been a delight having Barrister Julius Aburo here, the national chairman of the Labour Party, to ventilate his views on various issues that are twirling the country. We hope all of these issues will help to chart a new course for their country.